What makes a good open world? I've been playing Skyrim for the very first time over these past few weeks, and it has reminded me of how good open world games can truly be. I've been obsessed with it so far and have over 60 hours, and I'm probably like only halfway done with it. Yet, there's not a single feeling that this game is bloated or that I'm getting tired of the content. The great open worlds are able to create these settings and universes that you don't get bored in. At every point in turn, there's going to be something that you interact with. From some type of enemy, an NPC to talk to, a location to explore, or just some amazing scenery. These worlds are able to capture your attention and not lose it for the entirety that you play the game. I feel like in modern gaming, we have been losing the beauty of these worlds and are starting to get more rinse and repeat open worlds with the same type of content and gameplay loop. Which is a shame because when playing games like Red Dead Redemption, Skyrim, Cyberpunk, you realize how good they should be. When you are put into a unique world that you can get immersed in and learn about, there is a beauty to it. These games suck you into a new setting, and there you are for however long it takes to beat it, consuming every piece of content the world has to offer. The last thing an open world should be is boring or monotonous. They should be places to lose yourself in. And in today's video, we are going to be going over what I think makes a good open world and what makes them bad. Before we get into things, if you guys do enjoy this video, it would mean a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe, as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. With that being said, let's jump right into it. The open world genre is one that in recent years has seemingly become more and more bloated. As some of the most successful games of all time are open worlds, companies try to use these special words to pop and just throw around the term open world to get people interested in their game. When, in many cases, the title would work so much better with hubs like a Mass Effect or just simply keeping it more linear. It's why so many people are starting to grow tired of open worlds. It's because there are so many games that shouldn't be designed that way, and now it grows more and more rare to see an open world how it's meant to be done. And when you see a game nail all the aspects that it needs to, it's a sight to behold. One of these aspects that an open world needs to be able to nail is to make sure your world does not feel empty. I know that sounds like common sense, but you'd be surprised how often this occurs. So many times these worlds look beautiful, and they're gorgeous to look at, but when you actually sit there and look at the content in it or the NPCs, it all feels shallow. So much of the time, companies feel the need to make their open world so big, and then they don't have good enough content to fill it up. They're more focused on the size of the map than the actual material in it. The setting would feel so much more alive if they just condensed the world size so you're not going thousands of meters with nothing to do. To have a great open world, you need the player to feel like they are in a living world. You need to design content that enhances the story and setting that you're in. You want to make sure that NPCs feel real and genuine and actually interact with what you do. Sadly, that's a rare sight to see, especially since something that an open world needs to be able to achieve, in my opinion, is making the setting feel like it truly exists and that it can live regardless of what you do. Games that pop into my head are Cyberpunk and Skyrim. These are worlds that feel so real, and I could not be playing, but the day still goes on. Everyone still goes about their lives as they would. Like in Skyrim, I remember a character said that they had to go to this person's house for a few days and that they would return to us when they were done. During those days that they were gone, I was able to go to the house that they said they were going to and see them there. I know it sounds so minuscule, but it makes a world of difference for the immersion. These characters have their own lives separated from you. It does not feel like the world revolves around you in the slightest. And it's funny, as a protagonist you think that it should, but I believe the best open worlds come from the idea that this place existed before you and will after you. There is such a strong foundation in its world building and lore and NPCs where this universe is so fleshed out from top to bottom where it doesn't feel like you yourself are holding it together. The world influences you equally as much as you influence it.
I hunt geckos mostly.
That's why it's so important to make these open worlds not feel empty. It's the worst feeling walking around this place and feeling like nothing is going on at all. Each mission holds no weight. You cannot do it and face no consequences. You can do whatever and no NPC would treat you differently. You walk past most content because you know it won't add to the experience. I'm only going to try and bring up these games once, but it probably won't be the last. The epitome of what I just said are recent Ubisoft open worlds. They are worlds that are usually gorgeous to look at, but oh my gosh, I've not played games that have had such meaningless content. I beat Assassin's Creed Valhalla and put in probably over 100 hours, unfortunately, and even most of the main story felt meaningless, let alone the side content. Not just Ubisoft's open worlds, but many others carry this idea of throwing up countless objectives and collectibles to complete as side content. I think that's embarrassing because that genuinely takes no effort to do. You get a collectible idea and just throw 100 of them on the map. You come up with like 3 or 4 base varieties and just put enemies in them to fight and claim that your game is dense with content when it simply isn't. It doesn't add to the experience in any way. If anything, it takes away from it. All I'm doing are these fetch quests and these repetitive collectibles.
Looks like I turned into the goddamn errand boy.
It's terrible, looking at a map and barely being able to see the topography or outline of things because it is so riddled with little objectives to complete. It's very clear that there are no deeper implications to the content in the game besides adding playtime. If you ever feel as if content is in the game simply for prolonged playtime, that's poorly designed. Sure, if it's some kind of mini game or something along those lines, that's a different story. But when most of your side content adds nothing to the game, that's a bad thing. I could bring up Skyrim again, but I won't. I'll talk about Red Dead Redemption 2 here. There is such meaning behind most of the content in that world, and even the challenges are fun gameplay things to do for people who want to 100% it. You had your stranger missions, bounties, hunting, fishing, random encounters, camp activities, and more. All of these things were either narratives to deepen Arthur Morgan as a character, introducing you to new characters to flesh out the world, or simply just activities that match the time period and immerse you into the setting more. I've never felt more like a gunslinger in my entire life. The content in Red Dead 2 had purpose. It was not just there so that they can say their game is longer. I practically 100%ed this game because I loved everything it had to offer. It felt alive. The world was the farthest thing from being empty, and these missions gave depth to the world at hand. The same can be said about many other great open worlds. But along with making the world feel alive and not empty, making the content have a purpose, none of that means anything if exploring is not fun. Exploring is usually what is going to be one of the biggest gameplay elements with open worlds. So if you are not able to nail this aspect, it does not matter how great the rest of your content is. It is going to be a drag for players to even get there. You need to drive the incentive to explore. Players that load up your game need to feel that desire and urge to look at every nook and cranny as there might be something cool. Instead of being so focused on what the end of point B looks like, focus on the journey from point A to point B, to where point C, D, E, F get added along the way. Some of my favorite moments in open worlds are those where I'm going to this objective but I discover something else I want to do or some random encounter happens along the way. I always say this when talking about exploration in these games. Make your exploration so good that people don't want to fast travel. I think fast travel is one of the biggest killers in open worlds. You lose the ability to have your player lose themselves in your world when you make fast travel so easily accessible and abundant. My favorite open worlds I rarely ever fast travel in. But if there is going to be fast travel, the game that comes to mind when I think about handling it to perfection is Morrowind. There is technically no fast travel in that game. You can't open your map and just click a place to go and go there. In Morrowind, there are gameplay elements that allow you to fast travel. In each city, there are these things called silt striders that can only bring you to neighboring towns. There are also boats as the only way to access places on the water. There are teleporters in the Mages Guild to teleport you between different guilds. And there are spells that you can use to teleport to specific points or to tribunal shrines. I think it's perfect. It's the coolest thing implementing the idea of fast travel within aspects of the world. And I wish more games took the idea and used it. But not even talking about cool ways to implement the use of fast travel. You want to design your open world in a way that players don't feel the need to use it. Either your traversal mechanics are just that great like an Arkham game, Spider-Man, or Cyberpunk. Or there's so much content and potential things that they would miss out on that is more worth it to explore on their way there to the objective. And another important aspect of exploration that you need to have is a reward system. You need to reward the player for their efforts in exploring. Because at least for me, I quickly realize in a game whether or not exploring is going to be worth my time. In all aspects, from loot, collectibles, lore, a great set piece, funny Easter egg, I need to gain something for exploring. Because I don't want to waste my time going through the same looking dungeon just to get weapons that are useless, no cool little pieces of lore, or just anything of use. You subconsciously streamline the game because you know going out of your way from the main objective isn't going to warrant anything. This exploration ties into the idea also of your world not being empty. The worst type of exploration is if you go from point A to point B and when you get there, you realize you walked in a straight line and interacted with nothing else on the way. I want to be distracted by my open world. I want to be so amazed by a specific set piece that I want to go there and explore it. Or find some cave and know that there's going to be some kind of cool loot in it. Exploring is such a crucial aspect to open worlds. It's not going to be a good one if you don't enjoy walking around and discovering things. The best open worlds prioritize this exploration side of the game. because realistically in these open worlds, you're going to spend more time exploring them than actually doing the main storyline. So you have to make sure that the content is worth exploring. I get excited to explore once a game gains a reputation of rewarding me with great quests, awesome weapons, cool armor, or just anything to make me remember it. I love an open world where I look at it and know there are mysteries to uncover. Every time I get on Skyrim, I don't even have an objective. I just think to myself that I'm going to walk around, do some quests that I have, and see what happens, and every time I play, I am amazed by what I discover and play through. I remember one time, I was in Dawnguard, and this guy wanted to have a drink with me, so I did. I woke up in Markarth, a town that I haven't even discovered yet. I'm walking in the town and I witness a murder in front of me. Now I have to uncover this conspiracy and eventually end up in jail and have to escape. I was losing my mind. None of this was expected, and that's what I mean when I want the game to feel alive, warrant exploration, because things like this can happen. All I wanted to do was have a drink with this guy, and now I ended up in a conspiracy locked away in a prison in a town that I've not even been to before. Every time I get on that game, I'm excited to explore. Even if I'm all the way in Solitude and have to go to Riften, I'm going to do some cool stuff on the way and get sidetracked somehow. And that is a great feeling to have, because one of the most jarring things is clicking an objective and seeing that it's 2,000 meters away and knowing that you are not going to find anything interesting along the way. You hop on your horse and turn off your brain for the next few minutes it takes to get there. If you are able to turn off your brain while exploring, is not a good sign for the open world. All these different points are kind of building into this one main thought though. Make the open world that you are designing worth playing, worth exploring, and worth my time to put in most likely 80 plus hours like most open worlds are. You need to make the content in your game justify the playtime that I'm about to put into it. Because these titles are daunting. You know you're in for a long one when you search up your game on howlongtobeat.com and the main story plus extras is already over 100 hours long. In this day and age, I hate to say it, but those long playtimes are initially kind of viewed more negatively, because we are becoming more accustomed to these bloated worlds that are 100 hours long, but only realistically have 30 hours of content that are even worth doing. I want games that surpass the 100 hour mark to feel like they should be, because I have played games that I've put that amount of time into and honestly regret it, wishing I streamlined the game a bit more. I streamlined Assassin's Creed Odyssey to the best of my ability and still put in like 70 hours and it still felt like a waste of time. The only redeeming part to that world is the fact that it's ancient Greece. If it didn't have the backing of one of the coolest ancient time periods ever, I'm scared to see what they would have done with that open world. Those games don't justify the playtime that they offer to you, and will kind of force you to put into it to beat it. Red Dead Redemption 2 warranted the 140-ish hours I put into it, and I would do it again. This goes for all games though, not just open worlds. If you're saying I'm going to be putting days upon days worth of time into this, I better feel rewarded at the end and satisfied from my experience. I want the game that I'm playing for a long duration of time to give me meaningful content for that amount of time. Not just any type of content like,
oh look, there's a 700 enemy camp that you found to take out the captain and 3 other enemies. Wow, such innovative gameplay ideas that I would have never thought of.
These open worlds that don't succeed introduce you to practically the whole game within the first 20-ish hours. And you will be doing the same exact thing for the next 50. Great open worlds continue to introduce new quest lines, new places to discover, awesome set pieces, cool characters, awesome weapons for the entirety of the playthrough. So to me, what makes a good open world is one that has meaningful content that fills the world, feels alive and breathing, gives an incentive to explore, and warrants the playtime it is offering. I adore open worlds when they're done correctly, and sadly it's kinda rare to see them done well now. And I won't lie, open worlds are probably some of the harder things to fully flesh out as there's so many different elements that go into those kinds of games. But still, there's a big difference between a good open world and a bad one. Bad open worlds, there's nothing fun about them because it actually feels like your brain is rotting away. I don't even think as I'm completing another fetch quest for the 50th time. Seeing so many bad open worlds makes me cherish the good ones even more as they are truly a sight to behold. I love losing myself in these intricately crafted settings with content to last me days. Good open worlds are special and I wish we got more instead of the stuff that we get now. If you guys made it to the end of this video, thank you guys so much for watching. Your support means the absolute world to me. If you guys did enjoy this video, it would mean a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, and God bless.